Hello and welcome to the second episode of the NexusCast, where we talk about the heroes in Heroes of the Storm, different builds, when they work, when they don't. Today we're going to be talking about Li-Ming, everybody's favorite rebellious wizard. Joining me is Grant LaDow. He's played a ton of Li-Ming. He's constantly wrecking people from afar, getting those cooldown resets. So Grant, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long day. I'm happy to sit down and talk to you about the best character in Heroes of the Storm.
She's a monster, and I know, for myself, she was one of the first heroes I got to master level, and I know you kind of raced there shortly after I did, and you've played her probably quite a bit more than I have at this point. So
yeah, I think I have 83 games with her right now.
Oh, that's not bad at all. No, I know we've played a ton. She is fantastic, a lot of power, and really kind of offers a kit that's easy to get used to, I think.
I agree.
While still packing a whole lot of punch. So definitely a great hero. I'm excited to be talking about her today because I think it's the kind of hero that I think more people should pick up and try. So I think the best place to start is doing a quick overview of what her abilities are and what she has to offer. Starting with her Q is Magic Missiles, and Magic Missiles is going to fire 3 missiles toward a certain area. This is kind of going to be based on your point of reference. These missiles can shoot straight forward, they can overlap, and it's really kind of a drag and click situation. They'll do certain amount of damage, and they do only 50% damage to structures. So it's more of generally aiming for enemies. Then her W is an Arcane Orb. It's an orb that powers up as it travels. So it reaches a certain distance at which it hits max damage. Anything before then is going to deal a lesser amount. The amount of damage is increasing, but the first enemy it hits causes it to explode into a radius damage. Then she has a teleport on a 5-second cooldown, and it's just a short little distance teleport, so nice little escape mechanic. She does offer 2 ultimates. One of them is the Disintegrate Ray, which channels a beam over 2.5 seconds. It does travel through enemies, so you can hit multiple people with it all at the same time, and you can rotate around relatively quickly and hit in a radius around yourself. Her second ultimate then is Wave of Force. It is an area of effect that knocks enemies away from the center where you click and deals quick burst damage. Then the important thing to note is her trait, Critical Mass. It's a passive, and whenever she gets a takedown, whether that's a direct kill or an assist she was involved with, it will refresh the cooldown of all her abilities, both basic and heroic. So I think already people can probably see that there's a ton of kill potential there.
Yes.
So, kind of looking at her kit here, Grant, what would you say are some of her strengths and what are some of her weaknesses?
Well, obviously her strength is that she has some of the farthest range of attacks in any of the characters. I know she's outclassed by Chromie in the DPS, but I'm pretty sure besides Chromie she has the furthest range of all the assassin characters. Her magic missiles are really quick and they're not exactly easy to dodge. So if you can, they're a pretty easy skill shot compared to a lot of other skill shots, especially since you get 3 of them.
And they do travel pretty quick.
Yeah, it's actually quite great. And then her orb, in my opinion, is probably the best of her non-ultimate abilities. Being able to go from a hiding space and just hitting someone with full damage is pretty dang fun. And I think and of course she is the second most mobile hero besides Tracer. And having that teleport makes it so that even if you get caught out of position, you can kind of get back to it, especially if you do the teleport build, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, absolutely. And so definitely a lot of she definitely packs a huge punch and is able to blink around a lot, which is fun with that teleport. What are going to be some of her main weaknesses that people face if they're trying to pick up and try out Li-Ming?
Her health pool is very, very low. She's the second most mobile, but she also has the second least health, also greater than Tracer. Actually, she might actually have more health than Bala, I'm not sure. But I do know that if you do get caught out of position, any sort of CC will cause you to basically be deleted. So if you got to be able to have an escape plan, or else you will explode.
Absolutely. And so kind of looking at those strengths and those weaknesses, then if you're just going to jump into any random composition, what does Li-Ming do the best with? Who does she want on her team? And who do you hope to see on the other side of you?
So on her team, I mean, this just comes from who I've played with. If I don't really solo queue too much with her, but if I'm on a team, I really like people that can stun. I really like people that can root. I really like people that can disrupt the enemy team. That makes it so the skill shots are easier to hit. I don't like seeing people that can block skill shots. Anubarak, for one, is really, really hard because of his beetles. I don't like seeing any tank that can regenerate health. Artanis, for one, can be quite difficult to take down. But I do like to see on the enemy team, I love seeing Murkies because they do count for the reset. So being able to delete Murky does give you all your abilities back, and he's, super, super low health. I like seeing basically any squishies that will be avoiding their team. Zeratul and Nova, while they can be really annoying if you catch them if they catch you out of position, being able to skill shot them with, almost all of your abilities can take them out of hiding, and then, they're gone basically. I don't really know who I like to pair her up with DPS, but I mean, I do like playing her with Jaina. I know it's not the best, but having the freeze and then followed up by 2 skill shots is pretty devastating.
You can definitely delete somebody really quickly there.
At hashtag mage life.
Hashtag mage life all day, man. And so, kind of thinking of what we've already talked about, and you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but if you are going to be playing against a Li-Ming for sure, who would you be picking?
So, Tracer, for one, is really, really good against her, because a lot of Li-Ming's big abilities come from her Arcane Orb, and you can hit with the Firefly, but, I mean, not the Firefly, the Magic Missile, but Tracer can easily avoid it comparative to other heroes. And if you do hit her with the Arcane Orb, she's usually close enough that it's not going to do max damage, and then she can just follow you when you teleport away. Tracer is a good counter to Li-Ming. ETC is really good too, being able to come in and stun any form of crowd control. Like I said, Anubarak, having the beetles and the stun makes it really, really easy to just get picked off.
And Anubarak's got spell armor as well.
Yes, that's another big thing.
25 spell armor.
Malfurion is really good against her, but I mean, Malfurion's basically good against everyone.
He's pretty solid.
Lieutenant Morales is actually a really good. While she doesn't counter her outright, her constant heals makes it very, very hard to keep someone's health down, and then it goes back up, and then Lieutenant Morales
absolutely.
Definitely hard. Varian's pretty good. Any hero with a lot of CC and that can just walk through her attacks makes her very hard to play.
I definitely agree with that. But she does pack that wallop that is basically going to keep any kind of backline or even just generally squishy character shivering in fear. Really.
Yeah, she's very, very, very good at it, especially when you get a team that will have people that will branch out too far. Being able to just snipe them with the Arcane Orb is just absolutely satisfying.
It does feel real nice. Well, so I think we've kind of covered a few good topics there on what she's capable of, what she should be fearful of. So going into just an average quick match game, how are you planning on building your Li-Ming, just in general?
So for the most part, I go the Arcane Orb build. So
okay.
at first level, she has the choice to get Astral Presence, which doubles her mana regeneration while it's 25% below mana. This is really helpful because it doesn't mean you need to keep going back to Hearth. You don't need to keep going to get your healing fountains. You can pretty much stay in lane for as long as you have the health, which it makes it very, very nice. I usually pick that one anyway. There's very few times where I'll pick Power Hungry or Force Armor. An Aether Walker can be helpful, but once again, rare pick for me.
Sure. And just to cover those real quick, Power Hungry, Regeneration Globes restore 100% more mana, and also grant 10% ability power for 20 seconds. So just kind of a little boost there. Force Armor is when magic missiles damage an enemy hero, you gain 50 spell armor, which blocks 50% of any ability power.
And I do think Force Armor is a really good pick if you can hit those magic missiles.
Yes.
It does add a little bit more survivability.
Now,
and then
for every time you cast Force or magic missiles, you can only gain 1 charge, but you can store up to 4 charges. So after casting it 4 different times, you could have a few different stacks of that up. And then Aether Walk, if you haven't taken damage in the last 5 seconds, your teleport costs no mana, and its cooldown is decreased by 2 seconds. So just kind of quicker, easier teleporting.
Mm-hmm.
And then on that 4th tier then, what we're going to be looking at is Charged Blast, which is basic attacking a target recently hit by a magic missile, does an extra 87 damage, which then scales per level. Triumvirate. If Arcane Orb hits an enemy hero after traveling at least 50% of its base range, the cooldown's reduced by 50%. So after it's 50% through, its cooldown gets reduced by 50%. Its cooldown is 8 seconds, so that would drop it down to 4 seconds for everybody. And then Calamity. Teleport does 300 damage to enemy heroes near your destination.
Calamity is level 7. Dominance is level 4.
I dropped it down to 10 there. Thank you.
Dominance is level 4.
Dominance, which is takedowns restore 20% of your maximum health, in addition to already resetting your cooldowns.
Yeah. And Dominance is not the one I normally pick, but it is very, very good, especially when you have a team of very squishy heroes on the other team. But the one I normally pick is Triumvirate, the one that makes it so that after traveling at least 50%, you get a 50% cooldown. And I really like that because having her Magic Missile cooldown is only 3 seconds. So being able to cast Magic Missile consistently and then throw out an Arcane Orb really does put pressure, especially on those heroes that can move. So they have very little places to move to. It's a lot of pressure really quickly. So I normally go with the Triumvirate to keep pressure on them. But I have taken Dominance in the past. During normal quick plays, depending on what it is, but for 90% of the time, I'll pick Triumvirate.
I like Triumvirate a lot. I know I like to do the Magic Missile build a lot myself. Even then, I don't think that Charged Blast is really worth taking, though it's not bad. Just basic attacking a target is usually not what I'm trying to make sure I'm doing. I prefer either Dominance or the Triumvirate, even if I'm not going necessarily an Orb build. So
right,
definitely 2 very powerful talents there. Level 7, we do have Seeker. If 3 magic missiles hit the same target, the 3rd one deals an additional 125 damage that then scales per level. Zay's Vengeance. Arcane Orb does up to 25% more damage to enemies based on distance. Additionally, its cooldown is reduced further by 2 seconds. And then Calamity. Teleport does 300 damage plus 3% for every level to enemy heroes near your destination, but it does not work against minions, just enemy heroes.
So obviously, since I do the Orb build, I do go through Zay's Vengeance. Doing 25% more damage, increases it from going from 400 to another like 500 damage at far range. And also, once again, having the 2-second cooldown makes it go from 6 seconds to 3 seconds with Triumvirate. So you have a lot of pressure coming out really fast. It makes it very, very scary. And usually, I think there's some heroes that a lot of heroes do get like turned on, I suppose, at level 7, where their build is in place and now they're going to start packing a lot more punch. Mm-hmm. And I think Li-Ming is definitely one of the big contenders for this. For all 3 of them, really. So like if you're going the Magic Missile build, having it, because you shoot 3 Magic Missiles, and now you're going to do an extra damage if you hit with all 3, and you most likely will. And then being able to change your teleport into an offensive maneuver is quite, great.
Oh yeah, Calamity can be a lot of fun. And they have rearranged her talents, they've changed some stuff up so that the teleport build isn't as crazy as it used to be.
It's super fun.
But it is still fun.
Yeah.
At level 10, the options are her ultimates. Disintegrate, again, channels a powerful beam, dealing 440 damage, plus 5% per level, over 2.5 seconds to enemies while they're in it. and then you can rotate it around yourself. And Wave of Force, knocking away all enemies from an area and dealing 160 plus 5% per level. So, which of these do you prefer yourself?
So I really like playing a long-range beam sniper. So I normally pick Disintegrate. And that isn't just because I think it's more fun, but also I'm really bad with Wave of Force. And I understand where it can be useful. I'm just really bad at hitting it right. I think having it go out from the center is you can disrupt teams and get in there, but I don't think if you have a full team comp, I think it's really hard to work around it. And the good thing about Disintegrate, and this goes with Li-Ming's entire build, is that a lot of times if you get an Arcane Orb combo into a Magic Missile, most heroes will be pretty low on health. Sure. And being able to finish them off with the Disintegrate will reset Disintegrate. So you'll be back up to where you were before and without any negative effects from just using it on a single hero, which I think is really good in this case, because a lot of times you don't want to blow ults on single heroes. You want to use them in time when you can, but Disintegrate acts as another combo piece. And its cooldown is only 30 seconds maximum, so you do get it's good, it's a forgiving ultimate compared to a lot of others. And it's honestly a lot of fun.
It is. And I think it's a great way to, like you were saying, secure some of those kills after you've done the majority of your burst damage.
And I also do think it's a good routing ultimate. So if someone is pushing a lane and you want to route them to a different lane, you can just shoot it down the lane, and a lot of times people will either wait or avoid it. It's good at stalling. It's good at keeping people out of lanes. I mean, I know, once again, Wave of Force can probably do that better if you know how to use it, but I'm super duper terrible with Wave of Force.
Well, we'll move on to level 13, where we're going to start with Cannoneer. When you use an ability, increase your next basic attack by 75%, and cause it to do ability damage. This can stack up to 3 times. Glass Cannon, increase your ability power by 15%, but decrease your maximum health by 15%. And then Illusionist. Increases your teleport range by 50%, and if you lose more than 20% of your health at once, its cooldown is instantly refreshed. This cannot happen more than once every 4 seconds.
So, one of the things I do really, really like about Li-Ming is that she is, without Glass Cannon, a Glass Cannon. She's super duper easy to delete, but she has incredible skill, with incredible power, and Glass Cannon just makes it way more fun. I love picking Glass Cannon. Sometimes it feels like it turns the tide. Sometimes I'll be playing terribly, and then I get to level 13 and I get Glass Cannon, and now I'm able to melt basically anyone that isn't the highest of the tanks. Sure. But I do think Illusionist is a close second. Having an increased teleport range makes it so it's very easy to get out of bad situations, and having an emergency escape when your health is down 20% is really good.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. I think Illusionist is especially useful in games where you've already had trouble with your health pool, where maybe dropping it down another 15% is not going to help you.
Right. And of course, having Illusionist with the entire teleport build makes it so that you do get to have Li-Ming's range with all of her abilities. And nothing is more fun than hitting Magic Missile into Arcane Orb and then teleporting onto someone to kill them.
Just to blow them up.
It's so good. Teleport build is definitely, in my opinion, probably the most fun build, but it's not.
Heal, and each seems to end up with a lot of deaths if it's me playing it.
Oh, me too.
So Glass Cannon is your option there, you're saying?
Yes, I really do like Glass Cannon. Usually, to me, the 15% health decrease isn't that big of a deal. I'm pretty good at not dying with Li-Ming, and having the 15% ability power really does increase your kill potential. And I really don't like Cannoneer. To me, having your next basic attack, once again, it goes back to the charged blast. You really don't want to be doing basic attacks with Li-Ming, because then you're, in my opinion, too close to the enemy.
Yeah.
And
I think its big flaw in my mind is that it deals it as ability damage. If it was a stronger basic attack, I'd almost consider pairing it with the charged blast, 4 heroes that have spell armor.
Right.
But because it doesn't, it's not even really worth considering. And
Right.
you're going to get more power out of doing something like Glass Cannon, or
have more survivability as illusionist.
Yes, absolutely.
I think Cannoneer is definitely the weaker of those three.
Yeah. Moving to tier 16, you're going to have Fireflies. Drastically increases magic missile speed. Its cooldown is reduced by 1 second, and its mana cost is reduced by 5. Mirror Ball. Magic missiles fire an additional 2 missiles, but its mana cost is increased by 5. Arcane Orbit. Arcane Orb travels 25% farther, doing up to 25% more damage. Diamond Skin. When you teleport, gain 20% of your maximum health as a shield for 4 seconds.
So, to no surprise, I normally pick Arcane Orbit. Sure. It really gives you a ton more range, and being able to... One of the things I like to do as Li-Ming is not go into lane during team fights, but stay above it and maybe like a bush or something, and just launch an Arcane Orb down, and you can do tons of damage. Combined it with Zay's Vengeance and Triumvirate, plus
absolutely.
and it's very, very good at turning the tide. Makes people feel flanked. But I do think out of all of her abilities, the 16 talent tier is definitely one of the most balanced and the one that you're going to have a bigger time deciding on.
Absolutely. I like all these talents.
I agree. I think all of them have their uses. Like Fireflies, for instance, the one that drastically increases its speed and its cooldown is reduced by 1, and its mana cost is reduced by 5. It basically turns Magic Missile into a better basic attack against things that don't have spell armor. Sure, you can cast it every 2 seconds because Magic Missile does not have a long cooldown, so it's 2 seconds. It's 15 mana, and it's much easier to hit people like Tracer or Vala who have that mobility. And then if you're going for like the Magic Missile damage build, having the extra 2 missiles and Mirror Ball is great, especially when paired with Seeker, because it doesn't change Seeker to have to hit with all your magic missiles. It's still only 3. So you do get a lot more damage from that.
Oh,
and then of course Arcane Orbit is just awesome with the range. And then Diamond Skin, once again, this really, I think, is the thing that makes a teleport build good.
Yeah.
Because it makes it so that you can get caught out of position, you can go into somewhere, but you now have 20% more damage you can take.
Now, and if I can just make a quick comment on the teleport build, with Diamond Skin and also Dominance, teleporting in to kill somebody makes you feel unstoppable for a few seconds.
Because you
get a health boost, you get a shield, and your abilities have reset.
Well, just story time here. When the teleport build was a little bit better, there was a time when we were playing against a team with the Lost Vikings, and it was on the plant map, Garden of Terror, and we were trying to fight one of the bosses, and everyone was weak, and I teleported in, killed all 3 Vikings with 3 teleports because my teleport cooled down, and then managed to kill another member of the enemy team with just teleport, and it felt absolutely amazing.
It probably was incomprehensible.
Oh yeah, it's so quick that most.
I was like, whatever.
Well, to be honest, I didn't know what was really happening at the same time. I just knew it was
teleport.
I knew it was possible, and I went for it, and it just happened. It's like when it's just like a blur. It was just like, oh, it's over, and it felt great. It's definitely one of the most satisfying things you can do in this game. I really like going back to the teleport build. I know it's not the build I pick, but it's definitely the most fun one to talk about. One of the most is when someone has really low health and they think they're about to get away. They think they're going to get it. And then you have the 50% teleport range and you just drop right onto them and they explode.
Surprise.
It's so satisfying. I really need to do the teleport build more. But, I mean,
I'm like, I should get on and play.
Yeah, I know.
Pick the teleport build.
The Arcane Orb build is definitely one of the more, the better one in my opinion.
I think it's going to be the most stable most just outright powerful. That is, you are the literal glass cannon at that point with the Arcane Orb.
And you can keep so many people away.
The thing that we didn't really mention with the Orb, with Arcane Orbit at level 16, is having the ability to launch that 25% farther, which is a significant amount, and it doing more damage, is in a way keeping you safe. Because you are now just that much farther from people who are trying to take you out.
Well, and I know Li-Ming isn't the best for doing siege, but her Arcane Orb is able to hit the gate and the 2 towers on the walls. Yes. And having Arcane Orb get 25%, because Arcane Orbs, not only does it get stronger, it also gets bigger, and its hitbox becomes much larger.
Yeah.
And it can just melt towers and stuff. And it's not really the thing you should be doing with Li-Ming, but at this point, if you need to get that extra push, it's definitely really good.
Absolutely. We'll finish up with the level 20 talents here. Temporal Flux, Disintegrate gradually slows enemies and its beam up to a maximum of 60% slow. Repulsion increases Wave of Force knockback by 150% and increases its cast range by 100%. Talrasha's Elements, using abilities, grant 5% ability power to a maximum of 20%. This bonus is reset when the same ability is used within a chain. So you do need to hit all 4 abilities separately in a row to get 20%, if that makes sense. And then Arcane, Pure Power, or Archon, Pure Power. Activate, it's an activated ability. Activate to enter Arcane Archon form, allowing you to repeatedly use Disintegrate, but be unable to cast all other abilities.
So I pick Temporal Flux in this point, which is the one that gradually slows enemy caught in its beam to a maximum of 60%. I think it makes the Disintegration Beam a much better kill move because it brings them to close to a halt, so you can keep firing and they don't escape. I have picked Talrasha's Elements before. I was really bad with it because sometimes you need to throw 2 Arcane Orbs and you reset everything.
Yeah.
And I've never picked Repulsion because I've never really picked Wave of Force. It does. And it is good. 150% knockback increase is huge, and it doubles your range, so you can drop it from incredibly far. But the one I really want to talk about is the Archon Pure Power, the one that allows you to constantly cast the Disintegrate Beam. So the fun thing about that is that it is a constant ultimate. It never stops. But it does make it so you can't teleport away, which can be very, very scary.
Yeah, you need to be able to be watching, because if they catch you out, you need to have to get out of it and then try to escape.
I do remember when Li-Ming first came out, the person we played against had the Pure Power, and I could not fathom having someone who can channel an ultimate indefinitely. It really made me salty, and I thought it would be the best one to pick, and it's not. The only time it's really good is that when you want to finish a game quick and you're already at their core.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of talent where if you're winning, it'll just make you win faster. But if you're losing, it doesn't necessarily help you win, because Disintegrate by itself is not really an engaging tool. It's not where the burst damage is coming from. But if you're sieging up a building and they don't really have a great way to get to you or stop you, you can just sit there and blast.
Zap it. Right.
Where something like Temporal Flux is going to help you land those kills, secure those kills.
And that's what Li-Ming should do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But overall, I think she has a lot of room to change her build. I think if you're going against a lot of fast and agile squishies, the Magic Missile build is honestly pretty good. Even if you just get Firefly at 16, and you do the Arcane Orb build up until there, I think one of Li-Ming's strongest suits is that there's a lot of times where you don't need to go a straight build. You can mix and match, and it's still going to be good.
Yeah, I think she has a great diversity of talents. She has very clear builds that you can do, But exactly like you just said, at any point, you can go off script to pick up something that's going to be better in your situation.
And it's great. And
I think that's really important.
I do think that she has some of the worst skins. And
She unfortunately doesn't have some great ones.
her master skin's real bad.
I don't love the master skin. The striker Li-Ming's kind of fun.
It's fun,
but it's
like,
random. I don't know. The sports themes don't really do much for me.
Except for
Asmodunk's just because it's a meme at this point, though. I mean,
right. But no one else is a meme, so it's just
it's just
kind of odd.
The Star Princess skin I didn't buy when she came out, and there are days where I regret that.
Yeah.
I think that one. I think that one's kind of just fun.
It is fun having the Sailor Moon out.
Right.
I wish her hair wasn't as 80s, because Sailor Moon's hair
80s.
wasn't. It's really 80s. It's really big.
Absolutely though, and so Li-Ming, I think in all, is a very powerful, very fun hero to play, and she originally came out marked as a hard hero. I think everybody who played her, and even those who played against her, quickly could tell you she's not difficult.
I don't think she's good for a new player to pick up and play, simply because she has a lot to do with positioning. But I don't think it's that hard. It's just something that you need to understand. But if you know positioning in this game, she's not hard.
Mm-hmm. And she actually just recently had her difficulty changed to medium.
And I agree with that. I think she's not like Raynor, where she's very forgiving if you get caught out of position. Her teleport is, but you're easy to get deleted. I think medium's a good. It's a good. Yep.
Well, Grant, I really appreciate you joining me today. Hopefully,
I had fun.
we can see some of our friends joining the Nexus and queuing up as Li-Ming, everybody's favorite just terror of destruction on the battlefield.
She's a sass master.
And tear up some quick match, or maybe play some unranked with her, because she is a lot of fun, and it's a hero that I think any player, especially if they want to be playing assassins, should have in their arsenal.
Totally agreed.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much again, Grant, for coming out today. I appreciate it. We'll have to have you back on, because I know you don't just play assassins. You do touch on quite a few heroes, so it'll be fun to have you back out for another episode. And for everybody listening, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time in the NexusCast.
All right, see ya.